The era of the celebrity chef is not ending loudly. It is disappearing quietly, almost invisibly, from the world's most elite kitchens. A new presence has entered. It does not speak. It does not create emotion. And yet, it delivers perfection no human can replicate. The world's wealthiest diners are no longer chasing personality. They are chasing certainty. And that single shift is redefining luxury itself. For decades, fine dining was built on human mastery. Chefs were not just cooks. They were artists, performers, storytellers. Every dish carried something intangible, a subtle imperfection, a human signature, a moment that could never be repeated again. That was the value. That was the luxury. But today, that definition is collapsing. In 2026, high-end robotic systems are entering elite kitchens worldwide, not as assistants, but as replacements. These are not machines in the traditional sense. They are precision systems trained on thousands of techniques, millions of data points, endless variations of flavor, texture, and temperature. They do not guess. They do not forget. They do not fail. They execute perfectly. Every single time. A sauce that never breaks, an emulsion that holds at molecular stability, a plate assembled with microscopic precision. No variation, no inconsistency, no human error, only flawless repetition. And in elite circles, that is becoming the highest form of luxury. At first, this feels like innovation, a tool to assist the chef. But that assumption is already outdated. Because these systems are not supporting creativity, they are replacing it. And the reason is simple. Luxury is no longer defined by effort, it is defined by control. The elite do not pay for unpredictability, they pay for certainty. A human chef, no matter how brilliant, introduces risk, fatigue, emotion, variation. But machines remove all of that. They turn dining into a controlled outcome. And in a world obsessed with optimization, control becomes more valuable than creativity. This is the paradox of modern luxury. The imperfections that once defined greatness are now seen as inefficiencies. And inefficiencies are no longer tolerated. To understand how we arrived here, you have to look beyond the kitchen. Because this is not just a culinary shift. It is part of a much larger pattern. For decades, machines were introduced to scale production, factories, warehouses, supply chains, but they never replaced decision-making. Humans remained in control. That changed with artificial intelligence. Now, systems do not just execute, they analyze, they learn, they optimize, and eventually, they outperform. The kitchen was simply the next frontier. AI systems began analyzing recipes across cultures, identifying patterns in flavor combinations, predicting outcomes based on chemistry and structure. What took chefs decades to master, machines learned in months, then improved beyond it. Investors saw what this meant immediately: a system that delivers perfection without dependence on rare human talent, a system that can scale globally, replicate success infinitely, and reduce cost while increasing consistency. From a business perspective, it is inevitable, and inevitability always wins. So the transition began, quietly, first with assistance, then partial automation, then full integration, and now replacement. Most diners never noticed the shift. The lighting remained the same, the atmosphere remained the same, the presentation remained flawless. But behind the scenes, control had already changed hands. Timing, temperature, texture, execution, all optimized by systems, not humans. And here's what's surprising. The elite did not resist. They embraced it. Because to them, this is not about losing humanity. It is about gaining dominance over imperfection. Dining becomes something else entirely, not an experience, but a demonstration of access. Access to technology, access to precision, access to the future. A machine-prepared meal becomes a status signal, not because it feels human, but because it proves control over something beyond human limitation. This is where luxury transforms completely. It moves from emotional value to engineered superiority. But that raises a deeper question. If perfection can be replicated endlessly, does it still have value? Or was value always hidden in imperfection, in unpredictability, in human limitation, in the possibility of failure? Because without those elements, everything becomes identical. And when everything is identical, nothing is truly special. This is the tension shaping the future of elite dining. Some chefs see this clearly. They resist. They argue that food is not just output. It is expression. It is emotion. It is identity. And none of that can be programmed. But the market is not emotional. It is logical. It rewards efficiency, scalability, predictability, and machines dominate all three. So the system evolves, whether we accept it or not. The consequences go beyond restaurants. Because this is not about chefs. It is about power. When human skill is replaced, control does not disappear. It shifts from individuals to systems, and from systems to those who own them. That is the real transformation. The kitchen becomes a microcosm of a global shift. Automation replacing expertise. Centralization replacing independence. A world where fewer people control more outcomes, and the rest adapt to it. Even culinary education is beginning to reflect this reality. Young chefs are no longer just learning technique. They are learning systems, because mastery alone is no longer enough. Technology evolves faster than experience, and that changes everything. The breaking point will come when machines surpass not just execution, but creativity itself. When they generate ideas, invent dishes, define trends, and humans simply follow. At that moment, the role of the chef changes forever, from creator to curator, from authority to observer. And once that shift happens, there is no going back, because systems do not forget, they do not decline, they only improve. This is already happening across industries, finance, medicine, logistics. The pattern is identical. Humans build systems. Systems outperform humans. Control shifts upward, and dependency increases. Luxury dining is simply the most visible example, because it was once so deeply human, and now it is becoming something else entirely. So what does this mean for the future? It means we are entering an era where perfection replaces presence, where consistency replaces creativity, where control replaces expression. And the question is no longer about technology. It is about values. What do we actually value? Perfection or humanity? Control or creativity? Efficiency or meaning? Because we cannot maximize both forever. At some point, a choice is made. And right now, that choice is already happening. Quietly, without resistance, without awareness. The death of the master chef is not a failure. It is a transition, a shift in power, a shift in value, a shift in what luxury truly means. And the world's elite are already living in that future, dining in silence, surrounded by perfection. But perhaps further away from humanity than ever before. So the next time you experience something flawless, ask yourself this: was it truly better, or just perfectly controlled? Because in a world where perfection is engineered, the rarest luxury might soon become something very different, something imperfect, something human.